Hey everyone, Poindexter here, and today we'll fly our second and third sorties in Interceptor Ace Volume 2, Last Days of the Luftwaffe. In the last video, we successfully upgraded to a new aircraft model, the FW-190A8R2, which has a pair of 30mm cannon installed in the outer wings, and an MW-50 engine boost, which gives us a +1 modifier in combat with Allied escort fighters. Let's see what this new 190 can do. So, let's get started. We begin by rolling for today's target area. It's a 2, and we're heading back to the Brunswick area in the Ruhr. Next, we'll roll for the weather, and the weather is good. We move to the takeoff space and roll for a possible fighter-bomber attack. And we roll a 6. No attack takes place. We proceed to the raid target area and roll for an encounter. It's a 4, and we contact the bomber formation. The raid consists of B-17Gs with a P-38 fighter escort. We'll go for the bombers first and deal with the escorts later. Now, we must decide from which direction we'll be attacking this B-17. For this attack, we'll approach from the port flank. Attacking from the flanks doesn't award us as many bonus hits as from other approaches, but the same can be said for the bomber's return fire as well. We'll be relying on our fighters' deadly firepower to compensate for this, so let's hope for some favorable combat cards. We roll for the specific approach track we'll be attacking from on the flank port orientation. It's a 1, and we'll be attacking from approach 3, which is the front quarter. Since we're attacking head-on, we also need to roll for starting altitude. On a 1, 2, or 3, we approach at level altitude. On a 4, 5, or 6, we approach at low altitude. It's a 5, and we'll be attacking from low altitude. From this position and altitude, we'll score 1 less random hit on the bomber at long range. But our pilot does have the ACM skill, which means he will take 1 less random hit at all ranges. Staff Sergeant Kemp targets the airframe since this bomber still has bombs on board. He fires and scores group damage on the bomber. The controls, airframe, and a gunner are hit. We would normally roll for 2 more random hits as part of the group damage effect, but we only rolled for 1 since we're at long range. And it's crew damage. We roll for the affected crew member. It's a 5, and a second gunner is hit. The B-17 fires back and scores 4 hits. And the bomber hits us in all the wrong places. The radio is knocked out, so we cannot call on our wingman, and our controls are damaged, so we lose the ACM skill and its -1 random hit benefit. The starboard wing and airframe are also hit. Kemp moves to medium range. The bomber's return fire will cause 1 extra random hit at this range. Kemp targets the airframe again and fires, scoring group damage once again. The controls, airframe, and a third gunner are hit, along with a second airframe hit, and another to the bomb bay. We roll to see if the hit to the bomb bay has struck the bombs, causing them to detonate. And it's a 6, no detonation, so the hit to the bomb bay is reduced to an airframe hit. The damaged B-17 returns fire and scores no hits. With 3 enemy gunners knocked out, Kemp feels confident as he moves to close range. At this range, he will score 1 extra random hit, while the B-17 will score 2 extra random hits. But with 3 gunners knocked out, we subtract 3 from this total, so the B-17 will score 1 less random hit at close range. Kemp targets the airframe once again and fires, and scores group damage a 3rd time. Controls, airframe, and a 4th gunner are hit, along with both engines on the port wing. The B-17 has taken the maximum hits allowed for the airframe and has been destroyed. The B-17 fires one last time and scores 3 hits. The radio is hit again for no effect, but Kempf's controls are destroyed and he is shot down. We roll on the parachute chart to determine if we successfully bailed out. Kempf has the parachute skill, so we apply a -1 modifier to the die roll. However, our aircraft was destroyed by enemy fire, so we add a +1 modifier, which cancels out the parachute skill. We roll a 3, and Kempf bails out safely. Our pilot destroyed a B-17, which is worth 3 points, which brings our total up to 42. Kempf now has 19 kills, and we increase the fatigue level to 3. At 40 points, it's possible for our pilot to be awarded the Knight's Cross with oak leaves, but we'd need to roll a 1 on a 1d6 die to acquire it. Every point after that, we apply a -1 modifier to the die roll. Staff Sergeant Kempf currently has 42 points, so we apply a -2 modifier to the die roll. We roll a 2. Subtracting 2 gives us 0, which means Kempf has been awarded the Knight's Cross with oak leaves, and Kempf receives another prestige point. However, we will lose a sortie after receiving this award, as we travel to Berlin to be awarded by the Führer himself. This has the added effect of reducing our fatigue by 1 point, which now sits at 2. Kempf and his wingman also gain an experience point, as they have flown 4 sorties. Our next sortie will take place over a French airfield in France. We roll for the weather, and the weather is good. Kempf takes off, and we roll for a possible Allied fighter bomber attack. But this time, we apply a -1 modifier to the die roll, since the target of this raid is an airfield. It's a 4, modified to 3, and fortunately, no attack takes place. We move to the raid encounter and roll for possible contact. We roll a 9, and begin the combat round with an advantage. This means we'll be able to shoot first at long range in the combat round, like using the reflex skill. The raid is made up of B-17Gs with a P-51B escort. With a firepower rating of 19, we'll attack the bombers first and deal with the escorts later. We'll maneuver to attack from the starboard flank, and we roll to determine our exact approach angle. And we roll a 5, which is approach 6. Since we are attacking from an advantage, we automatically begin at high altitude. From this position and altitude, we do 1 less random hit to the bomber. Kempf, hoping to score a lucky hit on the bomb bay, lines up on the airframe and fires, but only manages to score 2 hits, damaging the port wing and port inboard engine. The B-17 fires back, but scores no hits. Kempf moves to medium range, and at this range we add 1 extra random hit to the bomber's return fire. Kempf lines up on the airframe and fires, and scores group damage. The airframe, controls, and a gunner are hit, along with a second hit to the port wing, but the final hit has no effect. The B-17 returns fire and causes 2 hits. Kempf takes a hit to the engine, which is absorbed by the engine armor, but more serious is the hit to the fuel tank. We roll for the result of the fuel tank hit, and we have a fuel leak, which means we must break off combat and attempt an emergency landing. But first, we must attempt to escape from the P-51 escorts. We'll need to roll a 1 or 2 to succeed. And we roll a 1, and Kempf once again manages to escape the fighter escort. Kempf must now make an emergency landing, so we add +1 to the final landing die roll. It's a 9, modified to 10, and Kempf manages to bring his aircraft down safely in a grass field. Our pilot will miss one sortie as he makes his way back to base. Kempf scored no points or kills on this sortie, but we do add 1 fatigue point. With that, we've reached the end of the video. Our pilot did manage to destroy another heavy bomber and gain a prestigious award in the process, but he was thwarted on his second sortie, despite attacking with an advantage, foiled by accurate gunfire from the bomber he was attacking. A lucky hit to the fuel tank forced him to break off and land in a field, though he did manage to escape the clutches of Allied escort fighters once again. We're fortunate the hit to the fuel tank didn't blow Staff Sergeant Kempf out of the sky, so it could have been much worse, to say the least. Still, Kempf lives to fight another day, and that is always the best outcome. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next sortie.